Hi there, this is Grumpy Opinions. Let's get on with the show.
Pluribus is now apparently the most watched Apple TV show, all about Carol, one of the only survivors of an alien hive mind takeover, currently trying to just live her life, get on with things, and try to figure out what to do when all the world is just one person. Meanwhile, in Paraguay, Manousos is currently trying to find his way to Carol, all the way from having to cross all of South America to try and get to New Mexico. Episode 7, The Gap, picks up with Carol driving home from Vegas, where she stops for petrol, and does a few scratch cards, and then helps herself to some fireworks. Also, asking the Thems to send her an iced Gatorade. But it turns up lukewarm. Oh well. And after she gets home, she has a 4th of July party to herself, and then goes out and golfs a bit, and has a duke at a spa, helps herself to a Rolls Royce and a painting that she likes. I mean, clearly it's me time for Carol, and she's decided, why not? Why not let the Thems just look after her? And down in Paraguay is still on his trek to New Mexico, siphoning fuel and leaving some money behind and drinking rainwater and generally just making his way past lots of friendly Thems who keep offering him help and he keeps ignoring them. Finally, he gets to the end of the road, the fabled Darien Gap, where the road stops and it's just jungle. And the Thems beg him not to go through and to just let him help them, mentioning dangerous wildlife, bad hiking conditions, and some sort of Jaggy plant which totally won't be important later. They even offer to airlift his wee MG midget car, but instead he covers it in petrol and torches it, telling him that he won't take anything from them because they're thieves, and everything they have is stolen. So on he jogs, and on, and on, and on, and oh look, it's one of those Jaggy plants they mentioned. Well, careful Paraguay. Careful Paraguay. Phew, you made it. Oh, oops, that's unfortunate. So after he's done a bit of a burnie on his back, he stumbles on, clearly infected and ill, and finally he collapses, just as the Thems come down to airlift him out to safety. Fast forward about a month or so, and Carol is clearly finally bored of the drink, the fireworks, and mucking about, and she decides to paint something on the road. And oh look, Zozia pops up, and Carol is really happy to see her. End of episode. So what did I think? Well, I actually think this was one of the better episodes of this show. We've established that these guys know how to make a TV show and make it look pretty and all that kind of stuff. So it was interesting that we also got to see some stuff happening as Carol went through some seriously shortcutted growth and development, which is a good thing, both because something is actually happening, but also because the show seems to have finally realised that it doesn't have to show us every minute of every single day, as we've just jumped forward a month. And you see, it bothered me a little bit that this show wants to eat its cake and still have it to keep, and it wants Carol to be a bereaved loner, and it wants her to be mostly unsympathetic and grouchy, but also it wants the show to be relatively light-hearted and funny. And that clashed with the Helen is dead side of things really badly for me. And it always seemed like a weird way for grief to manifest, and frankly it kind of implied that Carol didn't really love Helen that much after all. Or either that or she did all her grieving on day 2 digging a hole and then when she went out and laid a Fred West patio a week later. So it's good to see her go just sod it and enjoy the apocalypse in a kind of naff, hedonistic way. Although, for a novelist and writer, I was surprised she didn't do any time reading or writing or even just watching movies. I mean, she was just golfing and doing fireworks. Okay. I did like the idea of her booking a restaurant and putting the music on, mainly as, Ray Saborn is a good actress and she's really nailing this subtle loneliness and as well as the perky, whatever kind of side of Carol, but also the very fed up bit at the end. I mean, that's good acting. I also like nice little touches like the fact that she's going golfing and she still has her shotgun. I mean, and you would hope so considering there's still wild animals everywhere. But similarly, Carlos Manuel Visega is really, really good this week as Manousos, or I'm just keep calling him Paraguay because it's easier, and so I don't offend anyone from South America trying to say these names. And, he's stoic and grim, and we see him do his bit, same as usual. Well, thank God we got a little bit more this week, as he actually spoke to someone for more than 2 seconds. So we now understand his perspective. So he views the Thems as thieves who have stolen humanity and everything they have to give him is basically stolen. So he views all of it as wrong and theft, hence why he's always leaving money for the petrol, and he left IOUs at the lockup, and that's why he was so reticent to open up the storage units and nick dog food to eat and stuff earlier in the season. It's shaping up for potentially an interesting clash of ideals, as it seems Carol is finally going to be turning towards like Mr. Diabetes side of things with being friendly with the Thems and going along with their ideas a little bit. Paraguay might end up hating her when he finally meets up with her. And the dichotomy between Carol and Paraguay is interesting as well, because it also highlights that Carol is this pushy, pampered American middle-class woman who's got a life of pretty much luxury. And Paraguay is a guy who clearly, he might not be ultra poor, he has a house and he has a car, but it's a bit wrecked. And he is still, though, paying for every spit of petrol that he's siphoning to save the world. And it might all be a bit blunt, but it's a fair point to make, even if kind of overtly. But honestly, I had issues this week. I mean, even though it has been a more entertaining episode than normal. So first off, and a lot of shows kind of do this stuff, so I've covered some myself, because remember there was that episode of Snowpiercer where she goes off and enjoys like a wee winter stroll and hallucinates Sean Bean while she's trying to fix up a little office or relay centre somewhere waiting on the train coming back? Or, there was that episode of Outlander where Claire got stuck on a Caribbean island just walking around. And while the Paraguay part of this was probably the most interesting part of it, as I said, peril and understandable goals, it was really only like 15 to 20 minutes of an hour-long episode. And the last 5-10 minutes is back with Carol. And also half of it was him driving and learning English via audio tape. And we're back to the same regular problem of, did any of this actually need to be as long as it is? Did we need all of this faff at the petrol station? Did we need all 3 calls to the voicemail message? Which, I'm sorry, the joke isn't funny anymore. It wasn't that funny to begin with. And at least it looks like it's actually done now, because we've jumped forward a month and she's talking to them. So presumably, there's no longer going to be that message. Also, in terms of setup and payoff, I mean, sure, I had no idea what a chumba pam is, so that was quite interesting. But them saying it in that way made it so clear that it's plainly going to be something that was there, and it was so obvious he was going to hurt himself exactly the way they described. And yeah, this whole sequence, sure, I mean, mild peril, but it kind of looked like he was standing unnecessarily close to those pams. I mean, he had a machete, he could have just cut a wider path around them, taken a bit of a wider thing, or even hacked some of the things off it, or hacked his way through. He's kind of doing this video game shimmy past them, and then this moment, I couldn't take it seriously. I get why he gets jabbed in the back. It's easier to hide it in future scenes or series, and if he'd hurt his arm or his leg, he seems like the kind of guy who probably would have just cut it off, and that's going to be something they couldn't have done for a TV show, because then you've got to have an actor walking around with his arm jammed up at the back of his jacket and with a prosthetic on or something. So the whole thing kind of just fell slightly flat to me because it was so predictable. And similarly, back with Carol, the show seems to be kind of doing what feels like a reverse montage. So, most shows have montages where, they play some music and you get like a quick montage of someone doing something and they change or grow and learn. I mean, instead, this week we see lots of Carol doing things, but she's singing multiple songs. I mean, I wondered if that was the gag, if it's a deliberate dig at the fact that it's doing all this at a slow pace, or is it just that, the show absolutely luxuriates in stretching everything out? Because, again, you could have cut all this down massively. That also brings me to the time skip. I kind of actually would have preferred if we'd had a 2 or 3 week jump earlier in the show to give Carol time to process her grief, and then moved forward with her obsessive save the world stuff, but yeah, here we are. And that kind of leads me into what my thoughts are going forwards. So where does that leave us? Well, I'm concerned that we are 7 episodes into this show, and I don't really know what the central thrust of the show is. There's only 2 more episodes to go, and in TV logic that means next week, the penultimate episode usually sets up a bunch of things with a cliffhanger, and then some of those will get paid off in the finale, and some will be left open to the next season. I mean, you've seen TV shows, you know how this works. But this is a show where we don't have many setups, because we have hardly any interaction between characters, and more than that, the characters don't want to interact with each other. I mean, Carol only finally is because she's lonely, or when she's trying to make somebody see things her way, and when they don't, she gets pissy and unbearable to be around and either leaves, or they don't want her around. So, unless they suddenly drop in some big plot hook, then I have no idea what the direction of the show is going to be, as there's no momentum now with Carol. Unless they're going to suddenly pull something out the bag and say, aha, she has actually been plotting this last month, and this is all part of a big plot. Not make a lot of sense? We'll see. Similarly, I feel like Paraguay is going to be out of action now until the finale. I mean, or if we're going to see him in a hospital bed somewhere, hopefully not for 10 minutes of slow, wordless scenes, and then cut back to Carol. But, I mean, even when he's back to normal and shipshape, I mean, what, is he just going to arrive at Carol's house and say his catchphrase? I mean, currently, the plot of the show is going nowhere, and it's doing it very, very slowly. And it was interesting because I looked online and most of the critics, like in newspapers and the big major websites, said they only had the first 7 episodes to view. And I bet that they binged them at once. And I think, to be honest, if I'd binged this show at once, I probably would have enjoyed it more, as it would have felt like just a very long movie. And it would have been irritating, but because you're seeing it weekly, and there's so little to think about, and it's just a case of just like theorise about stuff. But there's actually nothing much to theorise, and almost everything gets shut down immediately. So, predictions for next time. I think we're going to have Sozia and Carol hanging out. I'm guessing Carol's going to finally ask some questions of the thems, stuff that will sate a little of our appetite for the mysteries, but not everything, because Carol will probably be interrupted by plot or a hand grenade or something. I mean, we'll see. But yeah, I kind of want something, anything to happen in the show that's going to let me know what the point of the show is supposed to be, because at this stage, I'm kind of at my wit's end, and I kind of hope that something will happen, but I have no idea what they can pull out of the bag in the last 2 episodes that's going to make all of this hanging about feel like it was worth it. And if it doesn't, if it just goes, no, this is just what this show is, then cool, but I won't be watching next season, and I'd be amazed if many people did. So till next time, these have been my grumpy opinions.